Should Russia in the nuclear arms race behave as a leader? Does Russia have the most powerful bombs? Let's see, remembering the history of nuclear explosions. On the 10th of September 1996, the 50th session of the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. From now on, each state party undertakes not to carry out any nuclear weapons test explosions or any other nuclear explosions, and to prohibit and prevent any such nuclear explosions at any places under its jurisdiction or control. About the most powerful nuclear test in the history of our planet in today's release. Hello, that's Newsoldier. Let's begin! There is no artificial explosion in the world more powerful than the explosion of an atomic bomb. And although many countries in the world carried out the testing of atomic weapons, only the USA and the USSR exploded bombs with the capacity of over 10 megatons of TNT equivalent. Overall, since the first nuclear test on July 15, 1945, more than 2,051 other nuclear weapons tests have been recorded worldwide. In order to visually see the destruction and casualties that such bombs can cause, you can use the Nuke Map service. Here you can see the inner ring is the epicenter in which everything will burn in fire. In the pink circle, almost all buildings will be destroyed, and the percentage of the victims will be almost 100%. In the green circle, mortality will be between 50 and 90%. Most of the deaths will be from the received radiation over the next few weeks. In gray circle, the most durable buildings will stand, but the wounds in their mass will be fatal. In orange, people with exposed skin will suffer third-degree burns, and combustible materials will be ignited, leading to massive fires. It's believed that testing is a necessary condition in order to develop new nuclear weapon, since no computer simulators or imitators can replace the real test. Therefore, the test limitation aims primarily to prevent the development of new nuclear systems by those states that already have them, and to prevent other states from becoming possessors of nuclear weapons. However, full-scale testing is not always required, so the uranium bomb dropped on Hiroshima on August 6, 1945 did not pass any tests. The names of these two Japanese cities have long been synonymous with a massive disaster. The US military actually tested atomic bombs on humans, dropping shells on Hiroshima on August 6 and on Nagasaki on August 9, 1945. Most of the victims of the explosions were not military at all, but civilians. Children, women, old people. Their bodies instantly turned into coal. There were only silhouettes on the walls. Light radiation acted this way. Flying nearby birds were burned up in the air. The number of victims has not been accurately determined yet. Many died not immediately, but later as a result of developed radiation sickness. The little boy with an approximate capacity of 13 to 18 kilotons of TNT dropped on Hiroshima, killed from 90 to 166,000 people. In Nagasaki, the fat man with a capacity of 21 kilotons of TNT cut off the lives of 60 to 90,000 people. But these seemingly horrendous numbers pale in comparison to bombs tested in the future. On November 1, 1952, the US conducted a test of Ivy Mike over the Marshall Islands. Ivy Mike was the world's first hydrogen bomb and had a yield of 10.4 megatons, which was 700 times stronger than the first atomic bomb. Ivy Mike's explosion was so powerful that it vaporized the island of Elugilab where it was blasted, leaving a 164-foot deep crater in its place. Castle Bravo was carried out on February 28, 1954, was the first of a series of Castle tests and the largest US nuclear explosion of all time. Bravo was originally envisioned as a 6-megaton explosion. Instead, the bomb produced a 15-megaton explosion. Its mushroom reached 114,000 feet in the air. The US military's miscalculation had consequences in terms of exposure to about 665 Marshall Islanders and the death from irradiation of a Japanese fisherman who was 80 miles away from the explosion. The bomb explosion with the gentle name Castle Romeo was the second nuclear explosion in a series of tests conducted by the United States in 1954. All explosions were carried out on Bikini Atoll. Romeo was the third most powerful test of the series and had a yield of around 11 megatons. Romeo was the first to be tested on a barge in open waters, rather than on a reef, as the US quickly ran out of islands on which to test nuclear weapons. The explosion would burn everything within 1.91 square miles. Castle Yankee was carried out on May 4, 1954. The bomb had a yield of 13.5 megatons. 4 days later, its decay fallout reached Mexico City, a distance of about 7,100 miles. On April 28, 1958, during the Grapple-Y test over Christmas Island, the United Kingdom dropped a 3-megaton bomb, the most powerful British thermonuclear device. After the successful explosion of megaton-class devices, the United States entered into nuclear cooperation with Great Britain, concluding an agreement in 1958 on the joint development of nuclear weapons. On October 23, 1961, the Soviet Union conducted nuclear test number 123 over Novaya Zemlya. Test 123 was a 12.5 megaton nuclear bomb. A bomb this size would burn everything within 2.11 square miles, causing third-degree burns to people in an area of 1,309 square miles. This test left no records. Friends, what do you think? Is it still possible to invent a weapon that will be more powerful than any nuclear bomb? And does humanity need it? Have your say in the comments below the video. And we continue. The AN-602 bomb, developed by Soviet scientists in the 1950s and popularly called the Tsar Bomba and Kuskina Mother, so that's what she is, could wipe out any, even the largest city in the world, from the face of the earth. It's rightfully considered the most powerful explosive device in the history of mankind, with an estimated yield of 50 megatons, or approximately 3,333 Hiroshima. Initially, its capacity was 100 megatons, but there was simply no place on Earth to test such weapon. The radius of destruction was supposed to be 1,000 kilometers and would touch residential areas of the country. As a result, the charge had to be halved to 50 million tons. And tests were carried out on October 30, 1961, on the secluded northern island of Novaya Zemlya. 2 hours after the departure of the Tu-95V bomber, the Tsar Bomba was dropped from a height of 10,500 meters on a parachute system at a conditional target within the dry-nosed nuclear test site. The bomb was detonated by barometric method at 11:33 am. 188 seconds after being dropped, at an altitude of 4,200 meters above sea level. The carrier aircraft managed to fly to a distance of 39 kilometers, and the laboratory aircraft to 53.5 kilometers. The carrier aircraft was thrown into a dive by the shock wave and lost 800 meters of altitude before regaining control. In the laboratory aircraft, the effect of the shock wave from the explosion was felt in the form of slight shaking without affecting the flight mode. According to eyewitnesses, the glass in some houses in Norway and Finland was knocked out by the shock wave. The power of the Tsar Bomba explosion exceeded the calculated one and ranged from 57 to 58.6 megatons in TNT equivalent. Later, the Pravda newspaper wrote that the bomb, codename AN-602, was already yesterday's nuclear weapon, and Soviet scientists developed a bomb of even greater power. This gave rise to numerous rumors in the West that a new Tsar Bomba, twice as powerful as the previous one, was being prepared for testing. The mythical 100 megaton bomb, if it was created, was fortunately never tested. The year 1962 was rich in testing for the Soviet Union. And a few months later, on August 25th and September 19th, 1962, less than a month apart, nuclear tests were carried out in the USSR over the Novaya Zemlya region of Russia, in an archipelago in northern Russia near Arctic Ocean. They went down in history as a Soviet test 158 and 168. No video or photo footage of the tests remains, but both tests involved the use of 10 megaton atomic bombs. These explosions would incinerate everything within 1.77 square miles at ground zero, causing third-degree burns to victims in an area of 1,090 square miles. From August 5 to September 27, 1962, the USSR conducted a series of nuclear tests over Novaya Zemlya. Test 173, 174, 147, and all stand out as the fifth, fourth and third strongest nuclear explosions in history. all three explosions had a yield of 20 megatons, or about 1000 times stronger than Trinity nuclear bomb. Bomb of such force will blow everything in its path within 3 square miles. On December 24, 1962, the USSR conducted test number 219 with a capacity of 24.2 megatons over Novaya Zemlya. A bomb of this power can burn everything within 3.58 square miles, causing third-degree burns in an area up to 2,250 square miles. On June 17, 1967, the Chinese carried out the first successful test of a thermonuclear bomb, called Nuclear Test No. 6. The test was carried out at the Lopnur testing site. The bomb was dropped from a Hong-6 aircraft, an analog of Soviet Tu-16 aircraft, parachuted down to a height of 2,960 meters, where an explosion was made, the power of which was 3.3 megatons. After the completion of this test, China became the fourth thermonuclear power in the world, after the USSR, the USA and England. According to American scientists, in 2009 China's nuclear potential had about 240 nuclear warheads, of which 180 were on alert. This makes it the fourth largest nuclear arsenal among the 5 major nuclear powers – the USA, Russia, France, China and the UK. During the Canopus test in August 1968, France detonated it was the most powerful explosion, Teller-Ulam thermonuclear device with a capacity of about 2.6 megatons. However, little is known about this test and the overall development of the French nuclear program. France became the fourth country to test a nuclear bomb in 1960. Currently, the country has about 300 strategic warheads deployed on 4 nuclear submarines, as well as 60 air-launched tactical warheads, which puts it in third place in the world in terms of the number of nuclear weapons. In the 1970s, the Americans developed the B-83 thermonuclear bomb, which is still one of the main nuclear weapons of the US Air Force. The destructive energy released by this 4-meter bomb, weighing 1,100 kilograms, is no longer in the thousands of tons, but in the millions. Bomb test recorded a yield of 1.2 megatons and an explosive cloud height of 20 kilometers. Thus, the explosion of B-83 would be equal to almost 100 explosions in Hiroshima, but still it was not more powerful than the Tsar Bomba. A nuclear war is a fight between 2 children in a strange apartment, not paying attention to the owner of this very apartment, Mr. Paratrooper. He will not look at it for a long time, but will kick both asses, and in the worst case will send them to the intensive care unit to think. Of course, one can talk about the consequences of a nuclear war without knowing and not understanding nature, its laws and possibilities at all. But one must clearly understand that in this war our planet will be the strongest and decisive side, which has repeatedly shown that it is capable of sweeping people away with water, fire or both. And these games of immortals definitely do not lead to anything good and meaningful. That's all. We say goodbye to you until the next release. Do not forget to leave your comments regarding 2 questions. Should Russia act as the leader of the nuclear arms race? Does Russia have the most powerful bombs? Narrated by Maxim Nikulin for Newsoldier channel.